my friends, it's your old pal Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. I'm doing great. Jaw's gonna be doing great pretty soon because we're gonna go take him out to try and make some new friends. And then we have a lot to do today. We're gonna go to the Florida National Cemetery. So, Daze with Jordan the Lion, you all, it begins right now. Taking the little guy out to have some freedom here. You know what freedom means. Empty the bladder. Joster, how you doing today? Hey, Joster. He's found like a big brother. Are you getting a little fun in? Huh? You having a little fun, big guy? The little explorer. The sprinkler. Is that a happy boy? Hey, Joster, are you a happy boy? He's ignoring me. Turns his ears off at the park again. Look at this face. How's that sun feel, huh? Now we've made our way over to the Withlacoochee State Forest area, which is where the Florida National Cemetery is. Well, actually, it's just past it. The guard directed me to this building over here. So here they have a grave locator, like ATM kind of thing. It'll tell me exactly where the person I'm looking for is. There it is. Frank Walter. Section 402, 860. I'm going to print a map because that'll help. Okay, so on this bigger map, we are here and we have to go over to 402. So we're just going to loop around. This is my first time to this cemetery. It's a big, big cemetery. So we're here today to visit Frank Walter Stanley, famous cinematographer in film history. If you want to come out and visit him yourself, you're going to want to work your way back to finding this, the assembly area. And directly across the street, he'll be buried over here. He's in spot 860 somewhere in this section, and they didn't really have much of a breakdown beyond that. So it's going to take me a little bit of time, but the big distinction that Frank Stanley was known for was that in this giant span of Clint Eastwood's filmmaking career as a director, there were 4 movies where he picked someone other than his normal cinematographer to work with. And it was Frank Stanley, and Frank Stanley actually said that he faulted Clint Eastwood for him ending up in a wheelchair. We'll talk about that when we find Frank. Okay, actually I just noticed on the back of the headstones, it actually has the section and number. So we're looking for the 800s and we're in the 195s. So he's gonna be about halfway back. Now, as many of you know that have followed my channel, I lived in Hollywood for over 20 years and did several different things in the movie industry, from doing commercials to doing movies, independent movies, background work. And I used to hear from people that were like in the background industry, the background actors, that they loved working for Clint Eastwood because they said he always seemed to kind of like be going off the cuff, and once he got what he wanted, he would just move on. Which they said it always seemed like it was very spontaneous filming, and that's exactly what Frank didn't like, and what he said was his problem and the downfall to working with Clint Eastwood. Here is the grave of Frank Walter Stanley, Frank Stanley, who served in the U.S. Marines in World War II, lived from May 5th, 1922 December 21st, 1999. I remember first seeing his work when I was in high school. We had read the book, A Separate Piece, and then we watched the movie, and I remembered seeing his name on it. I don't know why his name stood out, but as I got older and learned what cinematography was, really developed a major respect for it, because really the cinematographer decides in many cases what lenses they're going to use, what angles they're going to use, what lighting they're going to use, what overall feel the movie's going to have, how it's going to make the viewer feel. And in some cases it can be, other than the actors and maybe the director or whatever, the most important part of the filmmaking process. And he was known for several things that I like Grease 2. He was he also did Car Wash, which I loved. He also did Corvette Summer. He did Blake Edwards' movie 10, and he did Holy Moses. But really where Frank was known was for his work with Clint Eastwood, like I mentioned. And he would end up saying that he just felt like Clint Eastwood was a very impatient man who didn't really plan his pictures or do any homework. He said he figured he could just go right in and sail through things. And so they had made 4 pictures together. They made Breezy in 1973, Magnum Force in 1973, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot in 1974, and then the Eiger Sanction in 1975. And this was where the problem was. The Eiger Sanction apparently it was filmed in Switzerland, and it had a lot of scenes that they had to use. The cinematography had to be rigged for climbing scenes and for those exterior mountain shots. And it was during one of these, Frank fell while they were filming this. And he survived, but he was in a wheelchair for quite a while. And he always blamed Clint Eastwood for that, for not planning his movies better. He did go on to work after this, but Clint Eastwood never hired him again and went back to his original cinematographer. And Frank mainly did a lot of made-for-TV movies after this. That has to be such a tough situation for a cinematographer, because you understand that the director wants a loose feel and you want them to have the freedom to be creative. At the same time, when you're filming dangerous scenes and things like that, you have to have preparation in advance. So really sad situation, and it's sad that Frank ended up in the wheelchair, but he did eventually end up coming out of it and being able to walk again. Frank also worked on the 10 Commandments and the Mickey Mouse Show. What a career. Rest in peace, Frank.